Steve Willis is thick as thieves with a guy named Bruce Chrislip, who I'm sure you might have heard of. We look at Bruce's paper tales in this episode. Hey everyone, it is Tom, it is FANzine Live, and we are doing a Classic Zines video today. We are going into a time period that is far enough back to be classic. However, it is in my personal blind spot, which makes this a really fun read because I have never seen this stuff before. Quick backstory, as you know, I am working on the Cranium Frenzy project. This is the proof of concept edition, available at Amazon, or you can get it for free out on my Gumroad site. But this is Steve Willis's Cranium Frenzy. And what I am learning is that Steve, of course, being a prolific cartoonist, and from his many, many, many jam comics that he's doing, I got to do a video about that one of these days. Steve has made a ton of friends, and one of his close friends is a gentleman named Bruce Chrislip, who did something called, I believe, City Lights Gazette, which was a bit of a news zine, a bit of a commentary type thing, talking about the underground, the new wave comics, and the like. And so what I'm saying is Steve and Bruce ran in the same circles. So in 93, I'm guessing, I'm double checking. Yes, summer of 93, Bruce published his own comic called Paper Tales. And he, of course, 93 was right when a certain comic bust was about to happen. The bubble was bursting, so he was only able to get 2 issues out. However, I've got them both because Bruce was kind enough to send this along to me. Bruce is going to be doing the foreword for volume 1 of the collected Cranium Frenzy. And so we were talking about, he and I were going back and forth about different things. Bruce was sharing his friendship with Steve and said, you know, he did some work in Paper Tales. You can see Morty the dog. And I'm like, Paper Tales? Not sure I've heard of that one. And he said, oh, let me send it to you. And so he did. They're great. Let's take a look. So as you can see, Bruce is a pretty good artist. And as you'll learn in here, he's he has a style that allows him to attach on to or to mimic other artists. For example, this one that he did in 1992 is about Robert Crumb, and he does a really nice version of Robert Crumb. Now, this is his bit, and he's actually talking about how Steve Willis calls him in 1983 and says, Robert Crumb is coming to Moscow, Idaho, to go talk at a school. And so, yeah, you got Steve, you got Bruce. They're getting together. They're going off to go visit. And here comes Crumb. And that's a classic Robert Crumb image. So, you know, there's a cartoon drawing of Crumb. And then that looks like a reproduction of the piece. But anyway, so this is kind of a fun little piece that starts out with Willis and Chrislip meeting Crumb. And it's fun. It's light. But then you get past this one, and it's a great piece. Crumb is a fascinating character. So it's a neat little vignette. On this one, you can see it's a one-pager called Dada Comic, talking about 1920 art show in the cellar of a Paris bookshop. how they turned out all the lights so no one could see the pictures. Okay. This one's Coffee House Blues. So you can see little vignettes of this, that, and the other, trying to come up with an idea, and all this weird stuff is happening, and he left because he couldn't find anything unusual to draw, whereas everything in the coffee shop was unusual. Why it took me so long to draw this, and he's talking about all the different things that he procrastinated with. He also, in this, had Steve Willis, Joe Zabel, and Mark Campos for actually drawing some of this. I'm looking at this. I think this is Zabel. Don't hold me to it, but I think it is. Real simple cartooning, but really a lot of fun. Now this one is Campos, so that is Mark Campos. And I don't know Joe Zabel. I don't know Mark Campos. I don't know their work at all. But, you know, it's good stuff. Stuff overheard in my subconscious. That's another Chrislip piece. Chrislip and Campos together doing Floyd Freud. Floyd Freud, yes. Bruce did one called Old Men. Old men smoke cigars, old men or drink martinis in old men bars, wear old hats, and drive big cars. Fun. This one Campos wrote, Chrislip drew, which really impresses me because, I mean, he goes from his cartoony stuff to doing some really nice, imagery. And then Bruce overheard at a cartoonist party. Now, I got a kick out of this because this was 1991, so we're almost 15 years later, and you can still see some of the stuff in here. Of course, it's slightly dated, but, you know, I still read black and white comics. How's your print run going? Looking for better staples? Who's doing some stuff for Fantagraphics now? Of course, Love and Rocket's there. Get Me More Beer. You can't buy this. It's a limited edition. Yeah, just like Marvel. The 80-page giants, like a cross between Frank Miller and Gary Larson. I would love to see that. So, kind of fun. And then the last page is drawn by Steve Willis. Fun. So that's issue 1. Issue 2 looks more like a bit of a going with theme. And we're talking about, in this case, is look who's in this issue, don't miss the Fabs. It's a bit of some music type stuff. And Chrislip drew this intro rather than doing the written intro in issue 1. In this one, he says, you know, last issue was a critical success. Tons of cartoonists dug paper tails. Look at all the letters. And of course, he's holding up an eviction notice. In this issue, among other things, we're publishing some of Steve Willis's very funny reviews of bad Beatles cover versions. You know, then write and let us know. So this is a Chrislip's thing talking about the Fabs. And as you can see, Willis does some of the drawing. And I believe this page is his. The rest is Chrislip for this story. Kind of fun. Yeah, page 2 is drawn by Steve Willis. So these are reviews of Beatles songs as sung by other artists by Steve Willis. And Steve and I have been so focused on working on Cranium Frenzy, I haven't had a chance to talk with him about so many other things. And now I know that I need to at least throw some Beatles references into our letters and text messages because he has a lot of fun with Mrs. Miller's Greatest Hits, William Shatner's The Transformed Man, where he does Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and Bing Crosby singing Hey Jude. So some really funny stuff, fantastic commentary. So then you've got a name about a band called the Maggot Heads, and then this is fun, about reminiscing in 4 colors, talking about his reminiscence of his comic book stuff. And I love this here. It says, remember New Wave comics? Now they're old. And there's Morty, of course, running around with a cane. But the thing that gets me about that is this was done in the summer of 94, and that's 94, and we're in 2025. So if Morty was old then, what does that make him now? Oh boy. The Yawn Patrol. And then Campos apparently did this one, I'm guessing, all by himself. which is really fun, where he went to visit his muse, and his muse kind of gives him the business. Man, we were about to start our own rock band, but couldn't think of a name. And so then you got some mail that he got. Tony Isabella. I do like this. He put in other pieces of mail. So after doing his more standard letters, he threw, oh, and he's got a couple here as well. You can see he's got a rejection letter from Fanographics. He's got some other stuff about the World Book of Chrislips. And it says, a remarkable new book about the Chrislips is about to be published, and you, Bruce Chrislip, are in it. You'll always be successful in your professional career. That, of course, being a fortune cookie. So kind of fun. And then, of course, the piece from the mail, from the Postal Service, saying that his book got damaged somewhere. He's got a great sense of humor. These are fun. It's a fun anthology series. Really enjoy it. This story was originally drawn in '84. It says, although some of the references are dated, thought you'd still like to see it. Not every day that one is interviewed by a talking dog. This is a jam comic in a way that I don't even see Steve Willis with his current jam series going. He inserted Morty the dog clearly in every single panel, asking a question or having a comment or leaving space for him to talk. But every single part of this with Morty clearly was drawn in advance and then handed over to Bruce. Bruce then fills it in, and it reads so well. It's so much fun. I really enjoyed that. And look, it goes on for 4 pages. Just great. I think it's wonderful. At the time, Bruce was in Seattle, and I know that Steve is still out in Washington. I don't know if he was in Seattle at the time, but he's lived out in Washington. So odds are they're getting together and just messing around. And I can see this kind of coming up out of one of their get-togethers. Hey, you want to do a funny jam? We'll have Morty interview you. Because, of course, at the time, City Limits Gazette features reviews and news concerning new wave comics. He's interviewed a whole bunch of different writers and that type of stuff. So you can see that they were clearly talking about City Limits Gazette, and Willis is having so much fun with it. It's great. Chrislip does a nice piece about dinosaurs, talking about, why do cartoonists like to draw dinosaurs? We've got charisma. Then some interesting about how to draw and how it's done. And he goes with this really impressive artwork. I'm guessing that's a clip art piece, but he did put the tattoo on the right side of the brain there. And then talking about the different things. But I love, here's how it's done at the end. Buy a beret, be an artist, or just look like one. And then he wraps up, and notice this one, we go to a totally different style. Just really impressive. And then, of course, he's got his stuff here. And then a little bit of love for Seattle. Got a little kaiju action, got the Space Needle. Very cool. So yeah, Paper Tales. I am having dialogue with Bruce as I record this. I hope to be able to tell you how we can get copies of this into your hands if you're interested. I will, if I am able to get anything, I'll put it in the show notes. But Paper Tales, it's really good. If I can't find it, look for it on the likes of eBay or any of the secondary sellers as well. Only 2 copies, really creative stuff. Bruce is a impressive guy, and of course, I'm a huge fan of Steve Willis, as are many other folks. So, Paper Tales, 1993, 1994. These are our classic zines for today, everybody. FANzine Live, let me know what you think in the comments about Paper Tales. Let me know what you think about the channel, about classic zines. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. I thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.